Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming to you here live on the Chris Voss Show Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit that bell notification button so you get all the notifications of all the cool stuff that is going on in the Chris Voss Show Podcast world. Go to the CVPN, that's the Chris Voss Podcast Network.com. You can subscribe to all 7 of our podcasts. You can see there crypto, politics, what else is on there? Startup podcast, gaming, all that sort of good stuff. You can see all that good stuff as well. Further show to your friends. We certainly appreciate it. Leave some reviews on the iTunes channels and the other channels so we can get those reviews up. We certainly love our audience, and you guys are the best audience in the world. That's what we tell every audience, actually. We have a most exciting, very interesting guest today. I got to tell you, I've been watching some of his videos, and this guy is funny, spunky, and definitely entertaining. And I don't say that a lot of videos because a lot of videos are really bad, but he is definitely interesting. His name is Orest. He's the Orest Komarnyckyj. I believe I do that right?
Komarnyckyj.
There we go. And he is a 66-year-old blogger, internet marketer, stand-up comedian. So this is going to be fun. And healthcare professional, lives in Las Vegas, Nevada with his wife. They are 2 empty nesters with 2 college-age children. When you meet Orest, you'll be surprised. The cover does not match the content. I guess we're going to find out. And you'll find him funny, edgy, and very casual most of the time. His wife and kids often have to tell him to grow up. And if you piss him off, you may find he turns into a dick really fast. He really enjoys spending time with his wife and drinks fine liquor and smoking cigars while watching UFC, football, and basketball are his favorite pastime. Sounds like he knows how to have a good time. He falls asleep during baseball and soccer. Aww. Occasionally he'll read a book. If there's lots of pictures in it, probably magazines too. I'm thinking, welcome to the show. How are you doing, Orest?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thank you. I love it. I'm loving it.
Awesome sauce. So before you get going down the road here, give us your plug so people can start looking you up, checking you out on the interwebs.
All right. Well, in case you don't know it, I think you'll know what my product is almost right away when I tell you the plug here. It's myjunkdoesnotwork.com. Myjunkdoesnotwork.com. So I don't think it's going to, you're not going to have to be a brain surgeon or a nuclear physicist to figure out what my site is all about. So what I'm doing is helping older guys, and actually a lot of women are concerned about this, find out what their options are to treat erectile dysfunction, or in many cases actually dissatisfaction. Maybe you can't do some of the things that you were able to do a few years ago, and you're just kind of like going, what's going on? And so I basically have basically some information where I've interviewed some doctors, some expert doctors, which are, like, we'll talk about that, but they're actually hard to find, who are experts in this area, about new therapies that are out there that weren't available until just recently. And most guys are too embarrassed to go and find out about this. They won't talk to anyone. And so you can basically get this information. You can go into a closet in your house, turn on your computer or your phone, and get this information privately without embarrassment.
Nice.
So myjunkdoesnotwork.com.
Myjunkdoesnotwork.com. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm just plugging the website.
Don't wait. Don't hesitate to procrastinate. Skip this interview. Go to that site right now. No, I'm teasing.
But wait, there's more.
There is.
So you do a lot of videos on your website. You've got a website that you talk about a lot of the stuff. You're on Instagram. You're pretty much everywhere doing your vlogging and stuff. And you're entertaining. Your videos are really entertaining. You guys want to go subscribe to his YouTube channel and stuff. They're a lot of fun and very funny too. Very witty. And but yeah. So what prompted you on this journey? What's the story behind why this is important to you, and what made this kind of something that you were interested in?
Well, this so sit down. This is a long answer. You won't have to ask another question.
I'm sitting down.
No. I won't be that long. So when I was 45, my wife had our first child, and at that point in my life, I was 240 pounds. I was the shape of a watermelon, and about as mobile as a watermelon. And I had to make a decision about whether I was going to be a grandfather or a father to my kids. And my waist and my age at 45 were the same, and my waist was outpacing my age.
I think you're describing me.
Fortunately, you don't have any mirrors in the room, Chris.
Yeah, I'm anti-mirror. I'm on the anti-mirror crusade. You can go to anti-mirror for chrisvoss.com.
That's right. So I was at that point, and I made a very, very strategic decision. And at that point, I entered into what's called, or used to be called, they're trying to change the name of it, but basically the anti-aging space. And I found a lot about a lot of things that men can do to increase their lifestyle, the quality of their life, through various biohacks, things like that. And I got into the space, and I've been in it for from that time on, since 45. And over time, a lot of this, a lot of times we start journeys like this out of self-interest. And I'm doing this journey out of self-interest, and I'm sharing the knowledge that I've learned about how to improve the quality of your life, and consequently those that you love, which happens to be my tagline. So it's really out of self-interest. And I see so many men kind of go over time, where they really degenerate significantly. Now, I'm going to degenerate. There's no doubt about that. And even though I've done all these things, I'm sure that at age 55, I was better at age 55 than I am at 66 today, in some respects. But some of the things I really do believe that I've actually managed to slow the process, or really mediate it with several of the things that I've done in the past. And so this is I share my journey, doctors, therapies, also, but it's not just that. I also go into vices and virtues. I did not realize I was cutting a cigar wrong until about a few years ago, which is that's sacrilegious. And
you got to get that right. You got to get the scotch and the cigar just right.
Yeah, and I also did a video about how to properly light a cigar, because there is actually a whole technique, and about how to do that properly. And the old guy also, it's just not about guys. I go places that people are uncomfortable talking about, that should be talked about.
Yeah, I saw you interviewed a young lady about vaginal atrophy and vaginal rejuvenation.
Rejuvenation, yes. She would love the fact that you would call it. She's actually I'm going to be a guest on her podcast here in a few weeks.
Nice.
And we spent a lot of time talking about that, because let's say, okay, most guys don't know that as women age, that urinary incontinence is a huge issue.
Yeah,
it's a monster issue, and there are treatments that are out there that are actually fairly that are available, that weren't available until just recently, to deal with that.
I think in my 20s I actually caused a lot of vaginal atrophy, and head wounds. I'm not sure what happened.
Atrophy.
I gotta take the loading right there on the job.
Disuse dysfunction.
You got to go for it's right there. You can't. You've done stand up. You got. It's right there. You can't. You can't let that go.
You got the low fruit. The low fruit is the dick jokes. That's what it's referred to.
Yeah, well, we're getting to that. You got to start. You got to start with the vagina, and then you get. Never mind. So, so you got this website. I know. My father went on a journey where as he got older, he had to go have the prostate thing. I know a lot of people. I've hit one of my 52 now. Everyone's starting to bug me, like, have you done the prostate thing? And I'm like, I don't know. And then my dad had to have prostate surgery, where I think they ram a hot rod up your pee and fry the hell out of everything, or something like that.
He had prostate cancer.
Yeah, he really put it off getting it done for like 10 years, and it got bad. And so they had to, I don't know what they did. It was like that scene out of Braveheart or something, where at the end, where Mel Gibson's laying on the thing and they're doing all sorts of things to his lower extremities. I don't know. That's just kind of how I imagine it might be. So,
It's the laser in a James Bond movie. Yeah.
yeah. It's just threading the needle there, if you will. Wow, I just came up with that reference. No, that's making me cringe. So you help old guys kind of talk about their issues. I know one problem with men is men don't talk about their problems. We just either just go kill things or break things or build engines or something, or we do have a high suicide rate because we don't talk about our issues. And women outlive us, so they're they're like, hey, what's going on in the bedroom? You certainly don't want them trading you in for a pool boy. So that's important to still be able to hit the ball out of the park, if you will, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the one thing. And I know as you get older, I mean, your sex life tends to die, and sometimes maintaining that stiff upper wind lip, whatever you want to call it, gets to be a little bit challenging.
Let's call it what you. Come on now, you're jumping around the words. It's a stiff dick.
It's a stiff. Okay, well, I'll let you go there, man. You're the guest on the show. I'll let you.
You're bouncing around the. Come on, call it what it is.
I just think the references are funny. The stiff wind, whatever. I mean, when you're like 12 years old, the wind blows and you can like pound in nails with that thing. You're just like, you can just go over and hammer and shit. And I use mine as a screwdriver most of the time, both flathead and Phillips, sometimes hex too, if you hit it hard. But when you get older, the blood flow isn't flowing, I mean, I'm lucky if I got blood going to my brain right now as it is. And your blood veins are probably not as whatever. I mean, Viagra certainly comes into play for people. And so a lot of your information that you're collecting and you're sharing with your audience and stuff, what is it tuned into? What's the specifics on it when it comes to treating and issues what men are having?
Okay. So before I answer that, Sue, the IP lawyer I hired, she wants me to read this anytime I start talking about this stuff. She goes, "This is information only. Consult with the appropriate professional before starting any program. Do not be stupid." She did not write that. I wrote that. You're responsible. You're responsible for your own shit. The old guy's a capitalist and not a socialist weasel. He will be promoting stuff here and will be compensated if he's lucky. You can rest assured the old guy only promotes stuff he uses. You will have different results because we're all different.
There you go.
There you go. So now I got that out of there. So this whole thing of erectile dysfunction is kind of is actually related to the whole. It's not just for older guys now. It's actually occurring in younger and younger men, and it has to do with some things that what I want to call the assault on males. And there's a whole thing you can discuss and debate about societal, but there's also a environmental assault that's occurring. And so erectile dysfunction is something that affects many men, and now it's actually what urologists will tell you is that younger and younger men are showing up in their clinics.
Wow.
And there's the fact is that this situation, first of all, what it represents is a loss of physical and emotional intimacy in a relationship. If you're in a committed relationship, I mean, if what's that?
Tinder.
Yeah, Tinder. What's one that Ashley Madison? Yeah, if you're on Ashley Madison, you're not in a committed relationship.
I don't know, about 50-80% of the guys I think on there were married, but is that a committed relationship? I don't know. I got a few married buddies that I'm just like, why? What is the point?
Yeah. So what it is, it represents a loss of physical and emotional intimacy. It's a loss of your ability to actually have pleasure both for yourself and your partner. It robs you. You're sitting there and you're wondering the whole time whether you're going to be able to get it in, whether you're going to be able to keep it in, whether you're going to be able to come. And this has implications to not just to you, because it actually goes on because it starts to affect your brain, your psyche as a man.
A real important part of this whole process.
The whole thing, because sex is a big part of us being a man, and so it starts to affect your psyche. And a lot of guys will not talk about it. They're not going to talk about it to their physician. A lot of times they won't. A lot of times they won't talk about the person they're in a relationship with, their wife or their girlfriend or whoever. And they certainly don't talk about to other guys. I mean, guys don't stand around and go, "Hey, how's your junk?" "Well, my junk's not working so well. How about yours?" "Well, yeah, I had a little problem last night with my junk, and it just kind of didn't work, and we just kind of rolled over and kind of there was an awkward moment of silence when nothing was happening."
I think those conversations down at those bars, what the LGBT community calls the Fruit Loop in Las Vegas. I think those conversations do go on, but yeah, you're right. Most guys don't.
Actually, they don't.
I think it's more show and tell.
I think there's a lot more bravado there. But no, because I have some good friends, and we've talked about this too. And it's not just a heterosexual problem. It's pervasive in all in the homosexual community too. And so guys will not talk about this, and then what happens is that they get distant. The distance starts off just from a physical, emotional standpoint, and then they start becoming less and less communicative. And that usually what happens is that distance grows apart. And erectile dysfunction is actually a factor in 20% of divorces.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
And I suspect that if you narrow the range down on divorces, the men in their 40s and up, that it would be a higher percentage. But when if you're getting divorced at 22, it's usually because you got married when you were stupid and you both made a mistake.
Most guys are idiots till like 35.
Yeah. I mean, we were all idiots at 22.
90.
I mean, I'm not sure. I think I was an idiot at 35 too, but that's a whole different story. So that happened.
You did say your wife, in the bio, you did say your wife is still telling you to grow up. So that might be a sign.
Yeah. That's always good. Everyone likes a little bit of a bad boy still. And then what happens also is the other person, let's say the woman, the wife in the relationship, well, they start to wonder, does he find me attractive anymore?
Yeah.
Is he still in love with me? Is he having an affair, or has he substituted me with porn?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that is and then that whole depression, that whole distancing, non-communicative, that just cascades into other areas of your life. You can cascade into your relationships, and cascade into your business. If you're a grumpy old guy, guess what? You're not going to be very good at customer service. You're
going to be that guy on the lawn going, "You kids, get off my lawn."
That's exactly it, and that has to do with one of the major factors in erectile dysfunction is actually low testosterone.
So the two are connected then.
Well, testosterone is the major driver of your sexual energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it acts both on your brain, basically, and locally.
Yeah.
So that is a huge factor. That may not be the only one. That's kind of the first place you look, is at your testosterone, and then you look at other factors. Now, if you are a younger guy, and I'm going to say in your 20s and 30s, if you're a younger guy with erectile dysfunction, that often means you are in serious risk of having a heart attack or other heart issues.
Yeah, I've seen that commercial on TV where the guy talks about his erectile dysfunction when he's young, and he said it's an indication that there's a heart problem. So thank God I never heard that, but yeah, it's kind of scary.
Yeah. So it's not unusual. And just kind of to get off this whole, not to get up kind of a sideline here. There's a thing called porn-induced erectile dysfunction, and this is you're laughing, but it is.
I know.
It's a motherfucking serious problem. What it has to do with is that I read something that in England, that most boys by the age of 12, 50% boys by the age of 12 will watch porn on the internet. Okay. And when you watch, if you start very young, you start to see the porn movies and all this stuff. And you have this, first of all, you have this totally unrealistic idea of sex.
Totally. Yeah. A lot of women complain about that because these guys show up and they think that they're coming to a porn studio, and then they're kind of like, wow.
You have no idea how much those guys, what they've shot in their dick to make it hard and stand out like that for an hour and a half.
What cocaine's for.
Yeah, vacuum pumps, all sorts of shit, and that's just not, and then like so they sit there and they try to compare themselves to this guy who's like just all jacked up, and uh, and then the other thing that happens is that first of all you have this unrealistic expectations about how sex is going to be, and then of course you have a total unrealistic expectation of how it's going to be with the other person who's involved with you in the relationship. And then what also happens is that your brain becomes desensitized to normal sexual stimuli. And so it becomes harder and harder to get an erection if you are a habitual or chronic user of porn. The other thing, and I was stunned to find this out, there's a study from the Department of Defense that looks at porn usage among enlisted servicemen, and they are more prone to be violent with women.
Wow. I know that on the bases they do have a lot of problem with domestic violence and stuff like that. It's really
and some of that has some of that, and that's one of the things they found was a factor was the amount of porn that was consumed. Because you can imagine you're on a base or you're on a ship or whatever, and you're probably just
living on porn, man, because you're not nowhere near a woman.
Yeah, you're 23 and living on porn. So that's kind of the other side of the porn. But the traditional, what you consider the old guy with the erectile dysfunction, a lot of times that has to do, as you mentioned earlier, with poor vascularity, or it could be with a traumatic event like something happening to your prostate or some sort of injury. So those are the more traditional things that when we think about
erectile. And your testosterone goes down as you age too, right?
Well, yes, it goes down very significantly right at age 40 and up, and in some cases more lower than that. And actually, we're seeing again, doctors are reporting seeing younger and younger men with low testosterone, and part of this has to do is that there has been a generational decline of testosterone in men. And there was a study called the Massachusetts Male Aging Study. And it was basically from the mid 80s till about 2005. And generationally, the levels of testosterone in men are going down. And not only are they going down, but the lab companies are adjusting what they consider the normal ranges. They're downgrading the normal ranges of what they consider to be normal. And the ranges are huge in terms of what they consider normal.
This explains why I've been growing breasts the last 10 years.
Well, that and
I like jewelry too. I like diamonds and shit.
Yeah. Well. Listen. Okay. So this is where sometimes this is where I'm going to draw a distinction here. Low testosterone does not mean you're going to be feminized. Okay, I think there's people are saying that guys are becoming beta males and becoming feminized, and I would say that is incorrect.
Unless you're a guy who listens to New Kids on the Block, then you're definitely becoming feminized.
Yeah, but no. What they're becoming is not feminized, because we've all been on the end of an estrogen storm.
I know a few of those.
Yeah, it's a mighty powerful, mighty powerful. But guys are becoming eunuchs.
That's not a good picture.
What's that?
That's not a good picture.
Yeah, so it's not that they're becoming feminized. They're becoming eunuchs, which means that they're losing their masculinity, and there is nothing that is replacing it.
Can I find out who these guys are so I can start dating their wives?
I don't think.
If you're having this problem, please call into the show and give us your wife's phone number. We'd really appreciate that. You can dial 1-800-555-1212.
Yeah, well, but believe me, you don't want to be in that one.
I make a great pool boy. Great on the pool.
Yeah. So, Chris, something tells me you and manual labor don't mix.
No, not at all. No, not unless
it involves.
I don't
give you that idea, but
I mean, I've I don't know. I've checked the nuts and bolts on beds that are held together just to make sure that they. So testosterone is kind of disappearing and going down. So what do you recommend people do with that?
Well, I think that one is my recommendation is to find a good anti-aging doctor. And the challenge is that most I'll get in trouble for this, but most primary care physicians don't really understand hormone optimization for men. And because they basically treat off of the laboratory averages, which are basically going down. But secondly, for many years, there's been all these myths about testosterone, which I think there's actually a long paper by the Mayo Clinic that was put out a couple of years ago that kind of dispels a lot of these myths. And you're seeing more and more of these clinics. You're hearing advertising on the radio and television. I think it's not all these clinics. Some of these clinics are great, and some of them are just ATM machines for the owners, for the operators, because this is a cash business. Your insurance company does not pay for this, and these doctors don't bill to your insurance. They basically it's cash on pay. But finding a doctor that really understands the values that they're looking at when they look at these tests, and my particular doctor, he is like dogmatic about it. Like every 6 months, if I'm over by a day, he will not renew my prescription.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's very dogmatic about it. Twice a year I have to go and look at all sorts of parameters, and some other things that we do. But I personally have been on testosterone for 22 years.
Nice. 22 years. So you're 65, 66 now.
Yeah. So basically, I was 67. So when I was 45, when I had that moment, I had a friend of mine who was in the space, and this was way before it became popular. My PCP was telling me, your balls are gonna disintegrate, your dick's gonna fall off, and you're gonna get prostate cancer and die.
That's usually that usually happened to me during marriage.
Yes.
Just takes them off, puts them in their purse.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to sneak in your room there for a second. So there are all these, it's going to hurt your heart, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, and you have to make your own decisions about this. But I can't imagine what my life would be if I was not doing this, along with a few other things. So
now let me ask you this: so you're taking like a thing to boost your testosterone, is that correct?
I'm taking testosterone, not
okay.
It's basically actually testosterone. Yeah.
Okay. So I know that there's something, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong here, because you've done a lot of research in this, but you have to be careful how much more testosterone. Can't more testosterone lead to some other issues if you're getting too much for your body?
Well, unless you're going to a place that looks like a WWF casting call room, most responsible doctors are not going to do that. Basically, what doctors will do, they'll titrate you to effect, to where you're feeling good, where you have some energy. They're not going to give you and I will say that most of the time your numbers end up being what they would have been like in their 20s and 30s.
Nice. I had a friend who did some of this work, and he was having problems with the whole stiffness issue, and he'd gotten some enhancement, and he's like Chris, almost like 20 years ago, and it helped his energy level, it helped his whole countenance and well-being and stuff. So this is a real big deal. I mean, what are some signs that guys should look for if they're low testosterone? Then they should go have a look into this.
I think that I think just what you mentioned there, and I'll tell you a story in a little bit, but basically, if you are one, low energy, low sex drive, a mental fog, indecisiveness, weight gain, and a loss of muscle mass.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've noticed recently in recent years. My muscle mass, if I work out and stuff, it disappears really fast, and it's even harder to build. It used to be if I went and worked out, my muscles just be like, boom, here's some muscles for you. And now it seems like I have to work out harder, and it seems like they disappear quicker on me.
Yeah, no, that wholly happened, and the reverse of it is that it enhances your ability to retain muscle and put it on. It improves your whole outlook on life, your positive outlook on life.
Yeah.
Your decision making process. You feel more in control. Improves your libido, and it's not like and just so that everybody's very, very clear, taking it will not get you those effects. You have to take it with working out. You have to take it, with
you have to get your body to
right,
do its thing and respond and feed it. So I'm not going to be able to get, feeling better if I'm eating Big Mac quarter pounders and fries all day, sitting behind the mic here like I do.
Yeah. A shot will not give you
taking a snort of testosterone.
Yeah, snorted. So that is really, really a factor. And then then kind of leads into this, the whole thing about the erectile dysfunction, because that is all about your libido. It's about your mass. It's about your blood flow. It's about your attitude. It's about how good you feel about yourself. All those things are a factor in that. And so it's a whole life wellness thing.
Mm-hmm. So if they go to your site, how can they find out more data about this? Do you have like a thing on your site or videos that are particular? Where's some more where they can tap into your research?
Okay. Well, if you go to myjunkdoesnotwork.com, I have an interview with a friend of mine named Jay Campbell, and he's an expert on testosterone optimization therapy. And we talk about that. We talk about the relationship between testosterone and erectile dysfunction. And then we talk also about testosterone therapy. What do those numbers mean from the laboratory? What's bullshit and what's not bullshit? How to find it, how to identify a good doctor. Because so there's a whole. If you end up talking again, I don't mean to be basically deriding them, and I'm not, because they're kind of in a tough place. But most of the time, your primary care physician will not know. And I will tell you that this is kind of, I mentioned this to somebody I was talking to the other day. I have two sets of doctors. I have two kinds of doctors that I have. I have my disease doctors, which, if I got a bad joint, or if I got this, or I got something that needs attention or whatever. And quite frankly, I don't care if that doctor, if he or she is 400 pounds and, whatever, if they're an expert in their field and they're the best in their field, it does not matter. The flip side is, if you are in the anti-aging space as a practitioner, my deal is, I better want to look like you. Okay.
Is that kind of like a cook thing where you want to, you know how good they are based upon what they look like, how good of a cook they are?
Well, it's a matter of, are you reaping the benefits of the therapy you're promoting?
Are you walking and talking your therapy?
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're not, I'm out of there. I don't believe you, because you don't know you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
So on your website, do you have like doctors you recommend and stuff like that?
Pardon me?
On your website, do you have like doctors you recommend, or?
I don't recommend any particular doctors, because people are just all over the place.
Yeah.
But we talk with Jay and I talk about how to find the right doctors.
Yeah.
And the importance of that, because it is a challenge. Mm-hmm. And actually, Jay's got a great book on testosterone called Testosterone Optimization Therapy. And again, he's a great knowledge. But like I said, I've been through it. I've been through a lot of doctors. Tried all sorts of forms of administration of testosterone, from gels to pellets to shots.
Wow, they have pellets?
Yeah, they have pellets. My take on the pellets, one is, I had real problems with the surgical area that they insert them. Opening of what they call sterile abscesses, which are a pain in the ass, literally a pain in the ass, because that's where they put it, to deal with. And the other thing is that no one knows how quickly you metabolize those pellets. Some people metabolize them really fast, some people really slow. So there's no there's no rhyme or reason about how quickly you metabolize those. You know, I've had, like I said, I've had several doctors. I have one doctor's in jail. That was a whole interesting story.
Was he a good doctor or a bad doctor?
He was knowledgeable, but he was an arrogant prick.
And now he's in jail.
Yeah, now he's in jail because he was doing bad stuff. He was doing what you mentioned when you talked about the monster super physiological doses.
Oh wow!
And somehow his name came up with that whole thing with that wrestler that I think was somewhere in Alabama or whatever.
Died or something from
died suicide murder suicide.
And, that thing. I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he kind of his name somehow surfaced in that thing, and
It'll come back to bite you.
Yeah. Well, that and stupidity, arrogance and stupidity will do that to you.
So if you're a guy out there and you're wondering, you know, is my testosterone waning and all that good stuff, they should check out your website. They should watch your videos, learn more about you. They can probably reach out to you and get some consulting. Do you offer any of that?
We're starting to. I have not quite set up an official program, but that's something that's coming on board.
You do some erectile coaching?
Yeah, yeah. remotely.
I do. I'll
send you some pictures of me talking. That should make it.
Well, just as long as they're on Snapchat, that's fine. You know, I usually have my testosterone checked fairly regularly. Me and Robert Kraft, we go down to those massage parlors, the rub and tugs down there on Eastern and the Sunset, and he holds my hand and whatever. But yeah, I mean, if you're a guy and you're wondering about these things, I mean, like I said, I've noticed in my old age that, you know, my sex drive has kind of died off. It doesn't help with my weight. I'm sure my age is a factor, and you know, I'm kind of at that age where if the girlfriend says, hey, do you want to get on tonight? I'm like, what do you got cooking? You got some sandwiches or some spaghetti or something? That sounds a whole lot easier for me to take down. But no, I mean, it's probably something I need to look at because, like I said, the way my muscles disappear are just, it's really kind of crazy now. And it's a little hard it's hard for me to pick up those Victoria's Secret girls unless I you know, get that muscle going.
Yeah. So. I didn't know the catalogs weighed that much.
Boom. You should just have a mic and just do a mic drop right there. That was a good one. That was awesome. I didn't know the catalogs weighed that much.
So no, you my friend are at a critical age, and I say that is that while guys that are in their 60s and 70s can be helped by having testosterone therapy, if you get on the front side of this decline in your testosterone levels, mm-hmm. then you will have a prevention. It's to a lot of extent of a preventive measure, is that you will not have the significant decline that a man who does not get on it until later in life or at all. Because at some point, sometimes people are so far gone, it's kind of like they're just so used to it that they don't, you don't even know any better because it's happening to you so slowly.
Yeah, it's a slow decline. Do you know, one thing I've started doing, we used to make fun of my dad because he always used to nap all the time. I noticed that I like to nap a lot these days. Is that maybe a sign, or am I just an old fart?
I don't know. I don't nap. So
all right, I'm just wondering because
I think you're an old fart.
Yeah, I mean my energy.
I think you're old beyond your years.
I think my testosterone has gone down quite a bit. I mean, I had to quit dating the 19-year-old Victoria's Secret girls, and I just stick with the 20 and 21-year-olds now.
Oh yeah. You and Epstein.
Well, no, I stick to 18 and over. I ain't going to jail, baby. And I mean, when you start dating girls with I don't even like girls that, like, I've seen girls that are like 30 and 35 and they have braces because they're fixing their teeth and shit. And I'm just like, I don't know. That's just weird to me, man. I'm not going there. Once you cross that line, you don't go back. So I'm not going to go hang out with Jared at Wendy's Subway. Jared at Subway. I don't want to share a cell with that dude.
Yeah. famous,
or
famous sex perverts.
but you know, you speak to something that's very it's true. There's a friend of mine on Facebook, and she's spoken at TED, and she talks about one of the biggest problems is, you know, you and I didn't have that problem. We had Sears catalogs and girls in Easter dresses with hot ankles down at the train station. The kids nowadays, they have access to the most pervasive porn you can find on the internet in all different flavors of fetishes, to the point you can't imagine. And I can't imagine. And once you get hooked on a fetish, I mean, you're there. And if you're meeting new girls, you're like, hey man, I like doing this chimpanzee swing Vietnam sex chair with a midget in the room, and they're just going like, what the hell is going on here, man?
Yeah,
At least most of them are.
I thought it was supposed to be. I thought you loved me.
Yeah. It's and women are just like, you know, that's like year 10 of a marriage when things start going downhill. Then we bring in the chimpanzee and the midget.
Yeah, I used to have 5 rules of life, and rule number 3 is all guys lie. The more they want something, the better they lie. The first lie you'll hear is I love you forever. And then it's followed by I won't tell anyone.
It sounds like actually most of the women I dated, but there's that. But no, I mean it's a real big thing. Do you think the lowering of testosterone in men's system, is it just a de-evolution? Is it the food we're eating, the chemicals that we have around us, stuff like that? I think some people have surmised, and I imagine this is probably theory, but you know, like some of it's chemicals. Some, you know, we've got food now that has so much antidepressants that's coming from the.
Yeah,
you know,
it's not theory. A lot of this has to do with what's the term in the technical terms called endocrine disrupting compounds. Okay, and so it has to do with basically the hormones that are put in the food, the processing chemicals. I mean, if you buy it in a can and it's good until 2025, that's like something was put into embalming fluid.
I'm never going to be able to look at a can of beans the same. Thanks, buddy. You just ruined chili for me.
Good till 2025. There's all their hormones that are put into animals.
That's true.
All the
you've seen lots of people talk about that, like getting the BST or BTS out of like butter and milk and crap.
Plastics, BPA plastics.
Yeah, there's that too.
Yeah. So all that. GMOs.
Yeah, GMOs.
All of that stuff is not stuff that we are designed to consume, and so we're having a huge assault on our endocrine system. And it's not just affecting testosterone, but it's affecting other things, and it's affecting also women. So one of the things that is really scary is that there was a study done by the World Health Organization, and that said sperm counts in men in the industrialized world, this is just in the industrialized world, are down by 50% from 1973 to 2011.
Wow, man, that makes it harder for the whole thing to reproduce and all that good stuff. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just effect of all this pollution and crap we have in the systems, the mercury. You know, I've had friends up in the Northwest that have gotten mercury poisoning because they're eating too much fish because they live up there.
Yeah,
and it's crazy.
And so there's a study out of Hebrew University in Israel that said that if this trend continues at the rate it is, most men in civilized countries in the industrialized world are going to be infertile by 2050, 2060.
Wow. They could really use that up where I'm staying now to write a book in Utah. They could use some infertility. And I think there are some people that really I'd like to see stop breeding, but it's always the guy with 8 kids who you don't want him to have 8 kids. You know what I mean?
No,
But
but it's that you know who's populating though. It's third world countries.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's who's not affected by this. And
Yeah.
so not that I ever read the not that I have the Atlantic Monthly coming to my house or anything, but I was reading an article yesterday, and it was just like it talked about how what's happening is that like the large metropolitan areas like New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco are becoming kid-free zones. And
It's
it
fine with
talked
me.
about,
No, I'm just
and
kidding.
yeah, and they talked about how we are not reproducing and we are not having as much sex as we were in the past. And now they totally, and actually I was going to write to the author of this thing because the real underlying cause of this is one, low sex drive with low testosterone, low sperm counts. And this is not just a phenomenon in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually becoming a kind of a worldwide thing where it's becoming an issue. So
yeah, they've been talking about how the millennials aren't breeding as much, having kids. One of the problems with the millennials and the Gen Zers or Yers, I can't keep track of which week it is.
I can't either.
Gen Xers.
I call them young punks, or if I'm really pissed off, young pukes.
I call them get off my lawn. You brought this up earlier, the intimacy and relationship and stuff. I mean, certainly if you're in a relationship with a woman, hopefully you care about her intimacy and making sure that everybody's happy in the sexual part of the relationship. And really, to me, that's what being in a relationship and being married too is. You've got to balance everything: the intimacy of your friendship relationship you have in a marriage or relationship, and also the sexual part of it. Because if you don't have the sexual part, you're just really a friendship, and people's needs aren't being met on both sides. Or maybe just on one side, really, if you're one of those guys who finishes in about 5 seconds. But they've attributed some of it to the disposal nature of, like, these apps like Tinder, where you can just call up, it's you're not really calling up sex, but you're basically calling up a one night date that wham bam thank you man, and you don't call her, and in those sort of, I'm sure in those sort of experiences, you don't really care about the intimacy and the fulfillment of both partners quite as much. And I suppose that's a factor as well.
I think so. I'm not, to be real honest, since I've been married for so long, I haven't really been keeping track of these kind of things. I just kind of hear about them peripherally.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are not in a committed relationship, I think that it only makes sense that you're really just you're really just thinking about yourself. And I'm in a men's group, and the guy who runs this guy named Garrett J. White, and he uses the term basically screwing without a relationship is vaginal masturbation.
I have some jokes for that, but it might take me a bit to write them.
Yeah, but that's what it is. It's just if you're not in a relationship and you're not, and it's just really about it's really about just coming at that moment. It's vaginal masturbation, and that's all it is. It's kind of an empty gesture.
Yeah, and I think it contributes to all this different stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in our world, and these chemicals, recently, and the power of it's pretty amazing. Like recently, I one of my dogs started. She's a female dog who's been fixed. She started leaking, and I went to the doctors, and I'm like, she's leaking urine on the floor, and what's going on? And she can go pee outside. There's no problem there. And he says, well, this happens with a lot of dogs. We fixed her, we took out the insides, and so she doesn't have estrogen. So they ended up having to give her synthetic estrogen. This happened just a few weeks ago, and boom, just like night and day, no more problems. She's a much happier dog. She's got a lot more energy. She's having a great time now. And whether you're a woman, you need estrogen, man, you need testosterone. These things make a night and day difference in your countenance.
Oh, they do. People don't understand. I tell you a personal story that experienced just recently. I took a 3-week trip with my youngest daughter to New Zealand in December, and we had a great time. And I was talking to my wife, and I generally, I think you can tell I'm pretty funny guy, pretty easygoing, this and that. I mean, I'm not prone to rages or whatever. I'm usually pretty funny, pretty good going, except when you piss me off. And it's like, there's no gradual. There's no gradual. It's just kind of like something.
Yeah, well, sometimes you got to kill somebody. I mean, that's just my rule.
Yeah.
Another good reason for living in Vegas. There's plenty of desert.
Yeah. But she was talking to me, and she like, you're really, we were like into this, like, you're really negative. What's going on? You should be having the time of your life. And then I talked to her about 2 days later. She goes like, are you taking your testosterone? I go, no, I left it because I didn't want to, one bad day with a border agent, even though everything I had was legal, I got a prescription and all that stuff, just a bad day with border. So I left it. And she said, boy, she said, I really, in terms of my mental attitude about things, I mean, I wasn't like a raving asshole, but I was a lot more negative than I normally am.
I'm always a raving asshole, so maybe I do need to look at my testosterone.
Yeah.
That or I just need to see a shrink.
One of the things about testosterone, like I'm on, is that you don't become a raving asshole. If anything, you become a dick. So I'd rather be a dick than an asshole.
A very hard dick. Oy vey. The low-hanging fruit jokes on this one. It's good when I can make a guy to stand there comedian and laugh that hard. That's funny.
As I said,
that was like such an easy joke too.
Yeah,
this is right there. If that got any more low hanging, then I don't know. There's a ball drop joke there somewhere, but I'm not going to go on the journey to find it. So anything else we need to know about Orest, you and what you guys are doing there as we wrap up the show? Anything more we need to know?
There's more coming. No,
I'm not talking about getting the testosterone. I mean, like you, and not just you, but your website.
But lots of other guys. So I think if I'm a guy or going with a guy, the first thing that I would look at is my testosterone level. Mm-hmm. And so I think that finding a doctor that you're comfortable. I've been fortunate that I've always, even with the guy that went to jail, he was actually a very good doctor. He was just an arrogant prick, which got him in trouble. But I've been pretty fortunate with most of my doctors, and take your time to find, because this is a very important decision, because you're gonna have a long relationship with this doctor. So it may be.
So I need to find a hot one.
Yeah, for a hot one. Yeah. I got that, and so
maybe I'll just marry one.
Yeah,
hot chick who's
they're all making a lot of money, so you better be making a lot of money too.
That's pretty much any chick I've ever met in my life, buddy.
Well, some guy, actually, the guy I mentioned to Garrett J. White, said, usually at age 30, women are more interested in your wallet than they are in your abs.
That's true. Pretty sure it's after 24 or 5.
So I think that would be the biggest thing is I look at my testosterone levels and find a good doctor who really understands what those numbers mean, rather than, because there's a lot of these clinics now that open up, and some of them, my suspicion is that some of them are just like cash cows. They have a one size fits all approach to this, and that's not good. That's not going to be good. The second thing is that if you go to like I said, I'm going to pitch my stuff. MyJunkDoesNotWork.com.
MyJunkDoesNotWork.com.
That's right. You go there and you'll get the interviews that I did with the doctors in great length, plus a lot of bonus material. And you'll also get, now mind you, so this is important. You may want to write this down, Chris.
All right.
3 ways to get laid more frequently without begging.
Escort agencies? No, I'm just kidding.
No, and not paid for it. That's the same as begging.
Everyone pays.
So three ways.
You'll get a report from you 3 ways to get more.
My insight. I'll have 3 ways to get laid more frequently without begging.
All right, there you go.
Yeah,
and how many mistresses? Is it 3 mistresses? Is that the 3 ways?
No,
3 mistresses?
No. This isn't a committed relationship. It's all very.
Well, I'm committed to 3 mistresses.
Yeah, dude. You wouldn't know what to do with 3.
Not right now, but if I give me some testosterone, I might. Yeah, we got stuff to do.
With one full time.
We're gonna go back to hammer some nails, baby.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do some vaginal atrophy.
Yeah, no, rejuvenation, not atrophy. If you do atrophy, it's misuse, dude.
I don't know. I'm not sure I'm using that word properly. I went to public school, so you know. So give us your final plugs. Let everyone know where they can find you on the interwebs.
Okay, so basically at myjunkdoesnotwork.com, that's the #1 place to go to, because you can reach me from there from anywhere. Also, my blog is oldguytalks.com, and oldguytalks.com, and that's where I have my interviews. That's going to be changing here in just in a little bit. Going to kind of change the whole look about it. And the Old Guy talks about stuff that, well, most people don't want to talk about. As like talked about vaginal atrophy, vaginal rejuvenation. I talk about what old guys need to know about menopause. Talk about the no sex marriage, masturbation, and infidelity. And we go places. We go places where most people don't want to go to. I also do stuff like I had a chance to speak with the head of the NFL brain injury and concussion thing. So it's not all just relationship. I go there, talk about healing therapies to heal muscles, peptides, stem cells. Talk about relationships, $15,000 rocking chairs, and humidors.
Humidors. There you go.
Yeah, I got Daniel Marshall, who's a master humidor maker. His clients are like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Will Smith, every president of the United States, including the famous. So I mean that's his client base. And so I interviewed about humidors. Actually, fascinating guy.
Did he ever do it for JFK? JFK, I really love that.
No, that he's too young for JFK.
Okay.
But he did have a special edition for Bill Clinton.
Nice. That's nice. I just got that joke. That took me a second. Wow.
It's a humidor. It only holds.
You're gonna need some special humidors for Bill Clinton. I don't even know how you get that. Whatever, but does it come with dresses? No. Anyway, not for Bill. Anyway, it's been really awesome. Be sure to check out Orest's website. I can tell you, I've watched a bunch of his videos. He's a very entertaining guy on Instagram, his YouTube video channel and stuff. I think I like him. He doesn't just talk about dicks and stuff. He talks about, just sometimes life and stuff. You're having some fun with whatever's kind of bugging you for the day, a rant or something.
Yeah. We're doing a cigar and liquor night with my friend named Larry Foppy, who owns Sticks Cigars in Carefree, Arizona, and we're going to sit down and we're going to be talking about cigars and a liquor. He's got a Baby Bell or something like that. He's trying to get me back on bourbon. I had a bad experience when I was a senior in college with bourbon. Haven't been able to drink it since then.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lot. I said that was a long time ago, and but I'll give it a whiff. But I'll have
sure, man.
I'll have my bucket buddy handy in case I need it right away.
All right. Well, if you're a guy who's starting to age, there, if you're feeling your testosterone going down or other parts of you going down, be sure to go to his website and learn more about it. Become more open about these things. That's the biggest problem that guys have. We don't talk about this stuff. We just kind of decide to go off and, I don't know, shoot safari animals and giraffes and shit and take out our anger. So that, or, you know, we do horrible things to our wives, which we shouldn't do, and end up in domestic violence court. So have yourself looked at, get your health taken in place, check your space, and learn some more about it. And the nice thing about Orest is, with his videos and information, you know, he kind of takes away that taboo, and you can feel like you're talking to your best friend, and, you know, he can kind of save you from having to talk to your friends about it. I mean, usually when I'm out fishing with my buddies, I whip it out and I go, "Does this thing look hard enough to you?" And you don't have to do that now. So you can learn from his knowledge base, take it from there. And that way you don't have to all go through all the bad experimentation that I'm sure you good, bad, and ugly that you went through when you were doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
and you can talk to your friends. Like talking to me is like talking to your friends instead of your probation officer.
There you go. That's always a good thing. So that's what my probation officer tells me every time I go in to see the judge. So thanks for tuning in, folks. We really appreciate it. Thanks to Orest for being on the show. Give us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit that bell notification button. Be sure to refer the show to your friends. Please refer the show to your friends. If you love the show, you think it's funny, you think it's interesting, even if you hate it, go give it a great review on the iTunes and all that good stuff, because that's the best way to get revenge on me. If you hate the show, go give me a 5-star rating on the reviews. I really would be disappointed if you did that. That would really bug me if you hate the show. So anyway, we really appreciate your audience. Go to the CVPN and see all the 7 podcasts that we do there. You can subscribe to all of them. They're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn. There's so many places that the podcast is syndicated. You can get it everywhere on every different app you can possibly think of. So be sure to check that out. Thanks, my audience, for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.